Okay, now while we're waiting on the fire to get the right temperature, let's get the rest of our gear up to speed. When you're cooking with limited cook set, like using a vintage Boy Scout kit that I'm going to be using, you have to think ahead and plan your meals. So things that can be cooked that can be eaten cold need to be cooked first because of the time, and things that need to be cooked and eaten warm need to be cooked later so that they're still hot when everything else. So for example, for this meal, you're going to take each section in turn. First thing I'm going to cook is the bread. The bread will be okay to eat cold. In fact, it'll probably be more than room temperature when I finally get around to eating it, but it'll be ready to eat. My next step will be my vegetables. They take the longest to cook. And then finally will be the meat, which will be cooked very quickly. So I will have the bread cooled, ready to go. I'll have the vegetable cooled but ready to eat and still warm. I'll have the meat piping hot and ready to go. And then while I'm eating my meal, my pot will be recycled to be my dessert, which will be cooking while I'm eating. And then when that comes off, it can sit there and be cooling while I'm digesting, getting ready for the dessert. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what we're going to make is called hot water cornbread. Now, to make this little dish, it sounds exactly like it is. It's cornbread, but you're going to use hot water to create it. Why hot water? Because hot water will cause the baking soda in the mix to puff up so you get a fluffier meal. And so in my larder right here, like I've recently shown, I've got all my tools and everything ready to go. My spices and everything. So I'm going to open up, and I have my corn mix. I have some salt. I have some sugar. I have my utensils. I have oil to fry it with. So I'm going to start out by getting everything ready. We're going to be using the mixing bowl to create. We're going to be using the pot to boil the water. And we're going to be using the fry pan to fry it with. So we will set everything in position as it needs. Now first off, and my pt.2 spoon, great stuff. I'm going to start out by putting my water into my pot. Now I only need a little bit, so I'm only going to put like a half inch into this pot. Because I'm just cooking for me. I don't need a lot. And therefore it'll boil quickly. Now, I'm going to put it onto the fire. Put my 2 fire irons in place. Scoot the fire a bit further back than it was. Like that. Now, remember, these irons are going to get hot fairly quickly. So remember that. And I want this to be level. Since it doesn't appear to be level, I'm going to lift up this end and stick a couple of sticks under there. Kind of level it up a little bit better. Okay? Now, we'll let that come to a boil. Now, while that's coming to a boil, I'm going to get my pan ready. I'm going to take some of my corn meal mix. I'm going to add it in here. Pretty good bit. Maybe a bit more than that. Anything left I can put back in. Now, that's something I should have done first. But I can stir it in. As powders and mixes sit out, they kind of run out of air. So you need to shake them up to put air back into it. Okay? So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to fluff it a little bit and get a little bit of air in it. Getting it ready. I'm going to add just a little bit of sugar to this because I like mine a little bit sweeter. So right around where I'm going to be putting the hot water, this little depression, is where I'm going to put the sugar. Because the rest of it, if it doesn't turn into dough, it's going back in the can. So I add extra sugar. And then the same thing, just a little bit of salt. Just like that. Now, for this I will use my big spoon to roll it around. Now we wait for the water to boil. Good rolling boil. Time to take it off the fire. Okay. Now, we set it down. We take off the lid. Set the lid over here, someplace where it's not going to get dirty. We're going to come underneath, let it hook into those two bales, pick it up, and then very precisely we can now pour water into our meal. And this allows me to make my dough without hot water without having to do anything. Start the outside edge and scoop toward the middle. Just like that. Fairly quickly, the dough starts to form. Now I want just a grunt more, so I can very precisely pour just a grunt more. Just like that. And now, I let that hot water activate and create my dough. Just like that. And once it starts getting real sticky, I go to the back side of the spoon rather than the front side. I want to roll it around, making sure every bit of that dough is incorporated into it. And let it swell, just like that. Now, patting it down where it's a good dough. Just like that. Getting all of it in there. Just like that. Now, I'm going to let it rest for about 2 minutes. While I'm doing that, I'm going to take the pan. I'm going to put a healthy dash of oil into it, and it's going on the fire and getting hot so that it'll fry. Now I coat my pan. I make sure that I roll it around the edge so that the side is well oiled as well, and it's not just sitting in the bottom. Now onto the fire. Okay, it's rested. Now I'm going to take my corn flour, my cornmeal. I'm going to lightly dust the top of it. Just a little. Just like that. And now, I'm going to take it out of here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to dust my hands. Just like that. I'm going to pick it up in my hand. I'm going to pat it so it's one uniform. Now this side is a little wet. I'll put just a little bit more dry right there. Smear it around. I want the patty about a 1/2 inch thick, about palm size. Just like that. Take your finger and push the edges toward the middle until it's roughly palm size. I kind of like to roll it a little bit actually, from the bottom to the top, and it should be ready to put in the grease. Now notice how all my grease has come over here to this side. That I want to then, so I'm going to pick it up and gently roll it in. And it sits there sizzles. While it's cooking, clean up my hands.